So we'll close with type 1. And has anybody ever listened to Dr. Laura Schlesinger?
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, healthy version of a 1, you know. They say Barack Obama's either a 1 or a 9. There's a lot of arguments in Enneagram circles on whether there's a 1 or a 9. But their attention goes to what can be corrected. And this is the child who comes into the world that, you know, love, for every one of us, we're trying to get love in some way. So we develop a strategy to get love in some way. So I can get love by doing better, by being gooder, by noticing what's bad. So the attention goes to what can be corrected. So there's an assumption that perfectionists are, that you're going to go into their house and it's going to be just really pristine. And I know a 1, my spiritual director's a 1, and her house is a mess. But all of the energy around what can be corrected goes to social justice and social change. So if you're a ballerina, it's how you might move. So watch for exterior judgments around any type, that there's these assumptions. But for the 1, there's this really almost painful inner critic. Almost all of 1s will describe that an inner critic sits on their shoulder. When I'm working with a 1, Tom Condon uses an NLP tactic of almost taking the critic and putting it in your shoe, because its voice is so tenacious. And so they're constantly, they might do a job well, but it's how could it be done better? If you're working with a 1 or in your relationship with a 1, it can be really frustrating to them because they're working so hard. And particularly if you're on a team with a 1 and doing something, they work so hard and you're not really showing up here the way you need to. Nobody else works as hard as me, and there's an exhaustion around that. And then the other piece is this feeling of just constantly, like I gotta do better, I gotta be better. I watch 1's parent their children, and it's painful to watch, because they take everything so personally of every time the child didn't do well, and I gotta control this, I gotta make them better. And when they're trying to make you better, it's out of love. And on their receiving end, it feels like being controlled. My mother's a 1, so it feels like being controlled. But it's out of love so that you could be the best you could be. If you work harder, folk tend to over-focus on details and lose the sense of the big picture. So sometimes with 1s, it's getting them to learn to step back and expand. And John and I were talking about addiction last night for the 1s, of what it would look like. And sometimes it just, the substance softens that inner critic.
Right.
That's so...
The critic takes a break for a little while.
Critic takes it's like, death takes a holiday, the critic takes a holiday.
But then when you wake up in the hangover, the shame kicks in even worse, which leads to more use for a little escape, and
yes.
quick.
There's another big piece with 1s that I've noticed, particularly because I'm in the Midwest. A lot of the people I work with are from the Roman Catholic tradition. So there's there's the body, and all of its needs, desires that you can't control, and all of its wants. And so I have to tighten a little bit. And so when I'm working with these 1s, I say that we are the 1 tradition that talks about the notion that the divine can be incarnate. And so that would the body be shameful? And so you have to really cut through, particularly around my parents' generation of Catholics. You have to cut through that notion of my shamefulness. If you watch the Da Vinci Code or read the Da Vinci Code, the 1 character who was cutting himself and had to, I forget what he was doing, all sort of self kind of mutilation. And you'll see that with the monastics. Just the more that I can kind of abuse myself, it's this, I can be better. And it's a very 1-ish quality. So helping a 1 to get into their bodies, it's a great thing. My sisters and I have this joke, and we make fun of my mom. She knows she's a 1, but this is how she dances. It's not any kind of free-flowing thing. Now I have a friend who's a 1 who no longer dances like that. She's done a lot of inner work, so that's not saying all 1s dance like that. But there's this thing that I can't let out my life force, because if I really let it out, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I might do something wrong, I might do something bad, I might hurt somebody else, I might hurt myself, there might be some evil there. So when you think of kind of your classic Christian stereotypes around being good, better, best, all the nuns. This was the type that really took that in. The twos really took it in that I could give more and be like Jesus. And just give and give and give and give and give and give and give. You know, God loves the cheerful giver. For the one, it's really around I can be better. So the one, I love Father Thomas Keating as a one. And he was talking about, he tells this story at Integral Contemplative Christianity about a monk who, you know, would, could drink you under the table or something like that, you know, and I think that it's describing kind of a one-ish kind of person. And then when I get into the monastery, I'll meditate you under the table, you know, I'll be the best meditator in here, you know. So the addiction would really seem to be a lot around softening that inner critic.
And being able to, not just black or white, but gray, and integrating both polar extremes of
Yes.
either this or that.
Yes, and these can be the real visionaries. Maybe Gandhi, kind of a one-ish kind of feeling.